Hello and welcome to yet another Geek Show where you are listening to us talk about us. I'm your host, Dalton Munnell.
I'm your host, Alex Ecker, and I'm not impressed, Dalton.
You didn't like that? I told you it was probably a 2 out of 10.
Yeah, but I was hoping that it would be funnier.
Well.
Oh, yeah. We should also mention that Josh is here. But
yeah, let's not kill that bit. We already did that for 2 episodes. We're going to do it for one more after this.
Yeah.
And I mean, anyway.
Anyways, we can't kill Josh yet.
Or did we? And that's why he's gone for so many episodes.
Oh, boy. Anyways, this movie, man.
All right. Follow up to Get Out. So, compared to Get Out, I simultaneously like it more and less. It is somehow better and worse at the same time.
Yeah. It's a really good movie. Let's keep that in mind here. Like, I was constantly engaged with it, and I'm like, oh shit, every second of the whole thing.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about our opinions and what we thought at all on the way out of the theater. We just kind of, all right, peace out. We got a podcast to do. Let's not talk about this.
Yeah, that's kind of what we did, and we all just drove home. Man.
But yeah, to start though, I'm still like, I'm gonna complain, but I'm thoroughly impressed. It's a worthy successor to Get Out. Jordan Peele, it still appears he's going to be a horror master, and I still look forward to seeing him do more of this. I've said before that I'm really hard to impress with horror movies, but he did it again for me.
Yeah. Usually horror movies have this just constant jump scare phenomenon still. You know what I mean? Like they just go for the quick, scary things and not the ones that leave you going, oh shit. You know what I mean? Like they don't keep you thinking about it after, you know?
Sure. I mean, I guess the problem I gave to horror movies before that this managed to subvert again is that normally with a lot of horror movies, none of the classics, none of the good ones, but a lot of horror movies, trying to scare you is just all they're trying to do. And there's nothing past that. And movies just don't scare me, period. So if that's your only goal, you've got nothing for me. So Jordan Peele, again, wants to make you think a little. It kind of takes a while to get there, though, because when it's for a good portion of it, it just seems like another like house invasion movie, right? Like we've seen plenty of movies that are I'm in my house and someone's attacking me in it. And so there was a short period, like until after they safely escaped the house, where I was a little worried that even though I was enjoying it, it wasn't going to give me anything more.
Yeah. There was points where it was just like, okay, something weird is happening. Is it just to them? Is it to everyone in the world? Are we going to even get an explanation of what's going on? You know, and I mean, it wasn't until towards the end that you get the explanation. But either way, it was something that kept. I mean,
my concern was we weren't going to get like any meaningful social commentary again. My concern was there wouldn't be anything to give it rewatchability. My concern was that the movie was just going to be, hey, isn't this scary? Because it's not for me anyway. But once we were out of that scene, and that whole sequence was great, but I was worried the whole movie was going to take place in that sequence and be over.
Yeah.
And then we got out of there, and that wasn't the case, and we learned more about what's going on, and just added a lot more intrigue, and the symbolism of the plot became more obvious. And
okay, should I stop you here real quick, and then maybe we should give like a brief synopsis with spoilers on what's going on with this movie?
I mean, I already assumed anyone here had watched it. This is always full spoilers.
Okay,
if you've accidentally made it this far without realizing it.
Okay, yeah. Spoiler warnings ahead for, you know, more than what we've already probably spoiled for you. If you haven't watched it, what the fuck are you doing? Go see this movie. It's great. Then come back and watch it. Listen to it. Listen. Yeah, listen to it.
Also, watch It. It was pretty good. I enjoyed that horror movie.
We're not talking about it. We're talking about Us.
Yeah.
God. No.
Those are kind of similar names, huh?
Yeah. Something I wanted to point out to you that Jordan Peele reused again, though.
Eating cereal without milk?
No. Oh. The fact that he had actors playing 2 different people at once.
Yeah, these movies they're kind of opposites, because Get Out is about 2 souls sharing one body. This is about 2 bodies sharing one soul.
Yeah.
I didn't come up with that myself. Thank you, Reddit.
But man,
but it strikes me as maybe an intentional decision there.
Mm-hmm. The other thing too that it didn't hit me until after I left the theater. Red, who's the main protagonist. Well, I wouldn't necessarily say protagonist.
The main antagonist.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. We'll go with that too. Red was the only one that could talk.
Which makes sense after the movie ends, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I was thinking about it on the way home, and I'm like, oh shit, wait a minute.
Yeah, no, you're right. It didn't hit me until later. It didn't even hit me in the theater. It was a couple hours later, sitting there thinking in my bed, that I went, oh shit.
Yeah. And that's
There's a
another thing
reason
I wanted
for
to bring
that.
up too. With that being said, if that's okay with you.
Mm-hmm.
When we went to the theater together and seen this, it was very, very imminent to me that everyone here was very primal. There was no speaking language. They only knew what they knew, you know? It was very simple and basic how to survive. What was the father's name? Gabe?
Yeah.
Yeah, Gabe. His alternate, Abraham, when he was shouting, and like he would hear shouts from further away.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was genuinely like cool and at the same time terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of the way they were communicating was really cool to me and scary and fascinating. But shout out to our theater that fucking ruined it.
I know.
The people in the room that just thought it was hilarious every time. I could see being caught off guard by it once and laughing,
Right.
maybe
Yeah,
twice.
It's kind of like the scene in Get Out where the gardeners run in full force. You know what I mean? At first you're like, what? And then you're like, okay, this isn't funny anymore. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't trying to be funny.
No, I wouldn't even compare those. I think Jordan expected that running scene to, you know, like I said in that episode, it's not that it's funny, it's that it's making you uncomfortable because it happens for so long and gives you so much time to think about the absurdity. But the people watching this movie were laughing because they just genuinely thought it was funny that they were making these noises.
Yeah.
And it was frustrating to me because it reminded me of when you're in high school and the English teacher lets you watch Romeo and Juliet and there's a boob on the screen. The other middle schoolers go, ha, boobs.
Yeah.
And and can't just like let it go.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really, really good way to put it.
I can see it being humorous for a moment because it's not the sound you expected to come out of them. It's because, I mean, to be honest, I assume this is intentionally the idea, but most particularly Gabe, he's making sounds that we associate with, you know, people that can't speak. We associate it with like deaf people or, you know, that kind of thing. And it struck me as insensitive that people were laughing at it because I'm like, I get it. I get that you're tying together a connection there. And to you, it's like when Carlos Mencia makes a D-to-D joke. I get that that's what's happening in your mind, but like, can you just, you know, let it go after a moment and like, grow up and enjoy.
Don't continue to laugh at it. Yeah. You know, I mean, I'll forgive like a laugh like in the initial just because, like you said, it's something that you don't expect to have happen. But then like, I don't know, maybe our town is just full of high schoolers.
I really didn't notice who else was in the theater because we were like some of the first people sat and some of the last to leave, so I never actually noticed whether we were full of teenagers or what. But
we were actually quite full of teenagers in that movie. Which, by the way, this is something that's not relevant to the movie, but did you hear the guy start playing Spotify on his fucking phone during the movie?
No, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, some dickhead started to play country music on his phone while it started going, like towards the end of the movie too, like when shit was getting real intense. Like,
geez.
can we not use our phones during a movie for once?
It's not that hard, guys.
I know, it pisses me off. Anyways, rant over. Back to the movie.
Yeah. There will be a million opportunities to rant about the theater experience, but oh man, where were we going? How did we get here?
The alternates being speaking or non-speaking, and then I kind of ran us off with my rant about
so that was just something that throughout the movie I wasn't considering. Why is she able to talk? But you get there and it makes sense. Is it a problem that Adelaide seems to not remember what really happened? Or are we supposed to be under the impression when the movie's over that she always remembered? Here's why I say this might be a problem. I'm okay with either idea, that she doesn't remember living underground or that she does. I'm fine with it either way. What doesn't make sense to me is the girl was way too old to get swapped out and have her parents not notice something's up. Like in terms of her speech, we're talking about what was, I don't know if they said the age, but I'm assuming like an 8-year-old.
Dude, you have to remember that she stopped speaking entirely from PTSD. So she must have been learning the language.
Okay. Maybe that's something I missed then or forgot about. Yeah.
Now, here's something that's really interesting that I noticed too. In the scene when they first meet, but you don't know what happens in the end yet, she was lost in there for 15 minutes. Did you notice that it was going to take the cops 15 minutes to come help them?
No, didn't piece that together. A
little bit more of like a symbolism sort of thing. Like,
I don't know if that seems intentional or not. It could be.
It feels it because like lost in the dark and scared without any help for 15 minutes and going back to it being kind of the same thing. You know what I mean? Lost in the dark and scared.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I can buy that then, because Jordan has a lot of fun here with like...
Yes.
Just throwing the same... Like finding any reference he can to repeat over and over and over again. Like...
Right.
You notice the 11s all over the place. Or just little things like any visual cue of like something that's not like another thing. Like you get a small like spider that crawls away on a table from a bigger like toy spider, or like or was it a ceramic spider or something? It was some large fake spider, and a little real one crawls away from it. Or at like the beach scene, they're on. Maybe I might get the colors backwards, but they're on like a polka dotted red thing, and a blue frisbee comes and falls perfectly on top of a red dot.
I didn't get that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the same idea. It's here's a thing blending into all these other things that isn't quite the same.
Oh, shit. Wow. Okay, that makes a lot more sense with the red frisbee then.
Yeah, so that's the kind of thing he did all over the place and had a lot of fun with. So, I could see the 15 minutes thing being intentional. Sure.
Yeah, I didn't even understand the frisbee bit until you just mentioned that. Wow. I do have to say, this movie, its action scenes also had a lot of comedy to them, which, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
There was some comedic effect. Like, I mean, I'm not even gonna lie and say like the dad was a completely serious character, because he wasn't. He was a dad full of dad jokes and having fun with it. And yeah,
I learned in this movie that I want Winston Duke to be my dad.
Fair enough. He's probably one of my favorite actors in this whole movie, just because watching his character go from serious to being pained, back to jovial in certain spots from, you know what I mean? It was genuinely surprising to see how versatile he can make his character. I don't know.
Well, and as for the other like main actors, like the kids did well, but weren't given a whole lot of dialogue, and that might have been on purpose. Who knows? But the acting they did get to do, they did well. Lupita Nyong'o, this should be a big deal for her. Like, she's already a big deal of an actress, but come Oscar season next year, like, I don't think this is enough for her to get an Oscar, but she should probably get a nomination for this.
Oh, absolutely. Her roles entirely between the both of them were great. Between Adelaide and Red.
Well, and her having to do the two different roles is, you know, more impressive and fascinating than everyone else because she's the only one where they're both speaking roles.
Right.
Everyone else is really just, you know, they're just acting with their bodies and not with their voices, really.
It's kind of amazing to see both of those characters start to make opposite transitions of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was one point in a fighting scene where they thought one of the Americans was dead. And she, you know, the son walked in when she killed them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The scene where she's sitting there and lingering on her kill, she looks almost in the primal state of what the Americans are.
Oh, yeah. You know what? That probably does feel really different a second time around.
I noticed that and I'm like, are they like shifting consciousness into one body and leaving their, you know, the red suit body? You know what I mean?
At that specific moment, all I took was that was supposed to be scary for Jason to see.
Oh, okay.
But like, I didn't assume it really meant anything other than it was supposed to be scary to him to witness that being so easy for his mother and her being so into it and just like oh my God, mom, what the fuck? At that very moment, that was all I took from it. But there was a good while before the actual reveal where I was like, are they turning into the tethered somehow?
That's what I was thinking too.
That wasn't what the reveal ended up being quite, but yeah.
Right. But like the lines delivered between Adelaide and Red, they were done so well. Like Adelaide's character clearly is the concerned mom, but Red's character, the way her voice is distressed and very not used, and it's trying to be what it should be. Hearing those two contrasts to me, like especially in the sounds of a theater, made the world of difference for her performance. You know, the speech that she gives towards the end, you know, talking about if it weren't for you, I'd have never learned how to dance. That made so much sense in the end.
Yeah.
Man, there's so many layers to this fucking movie.
Man, Lupita in this movie, I don't know if she pronounces that Lupita or Lupita. Either way.
Either way, if you're listening, Adelaide/Red, we're sorry about the pronunciation of your real name.
Sorry, but you know how in our Get Out episode, I said Daniel Kaluuya was like unfortunately underused in Marvel and should be a better, more important character. He's getting slept on. I haven't seen him in much of anything. That's a big deal. This has me saying the same thing about Lupita. She was a pretty minor character in Black Panther. And I'm like, man, couldn't you have gave her something more important? And like Disney keeps putting her in CGI roles. She's been in Star Wars and Jungle Book and she did well, but you'd never know she was in there because they keep giving her CGI roles.
Yeah.
So let's see her doing more bigger things after this.
Right. Oh man, there's so much to this movie and I don't know where to continue. You know what I mean? Because like the story is super impactful and it's also really tricky, especially when you've only seen the movie once. Mm-hmm. You know, that's the one thing that Jordan Peele definitely does is you have to see the movie a second time for shit to click.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess we can move past the casting and the acting thing and just talk music for a second. And
man, the music in this movie is good.
Yeah. Did you happen to look up whether this is the same guy that did Get Out?
I did not.
It sounds very similar. Jordan Peele definitely has a very specific, peculiar taste.
I'm actually,
in what he wants in a horror movie. This horror movie has a really distinct, noticeable theme, like a musical motif, and horror movies don't do that anymore.
Yeah, and even aside,
if I say Halloween, you immediately hear din 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 din, and particularly lately, you don't really get that out of a horror movie. It's all atmosphere and no melody. But this horror movie's got a hell of a lot of melody in that score, and I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. I do have to go off like I did with the audio, just the soundtrack. The audio guys did a really good job in this one too. The most uncomfortable scene was probably at the end with the fight between Adelaide and Red, and her choking to death on her own blood went on a little too long, and I'm just sitting there, with my hands curled up against my face, and I'm just like, oh God.
And then hearing
die.
And then hearing the guttural sounds come out of Adelaide.
Oh man. Yeah.
The first time it happens, you're like, did I hear that right?
Yeah. And then the wet gargly sounds from the one that's dying, and you're just, oh fuck. Oh man. But no, they did their sound very well in this movie. I did like the continuity with certain scenes for sure, like the boat hanging to the left, and that making sense later on.
Yeah, that's something he kept from Get Out, is things that are established early on just for the sake of calling back to it later, and everything in the movie is there on purpose. He's really good about that. That's going to be a thing he's known for, that he keeps doing consistently well.
Oh, certainly.
However, I did say that I simultaneously liked this more and less. So in terms of actual directing ability, I think he stepped it up a notch.
Oh, for sure.
Or maybe I just physically reacted more because this is more of an actual horror movie. Like, there were more moments where I kind of sat up in my seat more and gave a, oh shit, a serious reaction. Maybe it's just because this is more of an actual horror movie, but I feel like his directing stepped it up a notch, and the score got better, and the acting was already phenomenal, but Lupita knocked it out of the park again here. But what takes a step back for me is I think this movie has serious plot holes explaining the tethered, and I think it was a serious mistake to try to explain it with science instead of the supernatural, because you can't, it's thrilling to watch throughout and the symbolism works and everything, but as soon as you actually tried to explain what was happening with science and government experiments and whatnot, now you've got me thinking about the specifics of this, and it doesn't work anymore. Because for instance, the idea is that all these tethered are in tunnels throughout the country. Okay, first of all, we do not have a nationwide abandoned tunnel system. There are abandoned tunnels all over the nation, but they do not they don't connect the whole way across, so you can have something like this happen. And if you did, why are these people free roaming in here? You're telling me that the government did this experiment and it didn't work out, and then they just walked away and didn't do anything to hide it? Anyone can just wander into these tunnels and they can just wander out freely? Or things for instance, the whole family having perfect clones. That wouldn't happen naturally. Doppelganger, Red, and Abraham wouldn't have coincidentally identical children to the real couple.
No, I see what you mean.
And so what that means is that you've individually cloned each member, which
means that this experiment isn't abandoned.
Which means that it kept going, and then what, are we pulling their DNA at birth to do this?
Yeah, and that's one of the bigger things that I thought too later on, but and then at the same time,
and then it's things like where did all the red jumpsuits come from? I understand. I understand symbolically what they're doing with it, and I understand Red's motivation there, but how did you acquire all these jumpsuits? Or how are we given scenes where all the tethered underground happen to have the same clothes as the people above ground? Are you telling me they're all managing to do they all have clothes factories down there?
Yeah, I see where you're getting at.
Is there a scissors manufacturing plant down there? Again, it's a thing where the symbolism works, but you rooted it in science instead of the supernatural. And now I have to ask, where did the scissors come from?
Right.
You don't have to explain any of this if you tell me it's supernatural. I have no more questions.
One thing I do have to tell you, though, is I don't know if you noticed the handcuffs were identical. In the scene where Red handcuffs Adelaide, they were the same handcuffs that Adelaide used on Red.
Oh, no, I didn't catch that. I would have assumed that to be the case, because I did catch, they both handcuff each other. But I didn't watch for that
those
particular
were the
detail.
same.
No.
So at least that one's going to be explained.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I see where you're getting at. Like, it makes sense if you look at it through the supernatural aspect of it.
It's like the symbolism and like motivation and stuff works. Like the single glove comes because she knows Michael Jackson. She goes down with her Thriller shirt. So I assume that's the inspiration for one glove. The scissors are...
That's what I thought too.
The scissors are the tool that's used to, cut the tether. Like, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't call it supernatural, and now there's logistics involved.
Right.
So for me, that was a really critical writing mistake that I'm kind of baffled by. Like, it would have been a really easy fix. And I still love the movie because I recognize that you could edit out like 3 minutes of the movie and fix it. It's such a little piece of it that's ruining it. You could cut out like 3 minutes of exposition and fix the whole problem and have a perfect 10 out of 10 here.
Yeah, I mean, I see where you're going with it. But I mean, Jordan Peele's movies so far have been sci-fi horror. So I mean, science fiction. I mean, I'm almost. Yeah. Ooh,
but I mean, Get Out doesn't give us enough to question. Like the sci-fi elements of Get Out. I assume everyone listening has watched Get Out. But the sci-fi there is the existence of the sunken place, which frankly could be supernatural or science. Yeah. And then the ability to surgically like merge minds like that. And neither of those are things that beg further questions, though. That's just, here's what science says can happen. Accept it. Okay, fine. I accept that science says this can happen. But there's nothing that says, hey, science says we can produce infinite golden scissors.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Or for the matter that they would have clothes when they were explained. I don't know. I suppose I would just knock it off as supernatural, and should just make sense because it does. That you have to have that little bit of leeway with horror movies regardless. And with this one actually being more of a horror movie, you know what I mean? It's kind of one of those things like, what is it? Jason Never Dies or,
Sure, but the things that are rooted in the sci-fi elements, though, like I'm not questioning, like I don't believe in a soul, but I accept it when the movie tells me, oh, hey, you can clone a body, but can't clone the soul. So it comes out fucked up. Like, okay, that's not rooted in the real world, but that's what the sci-fi or the supernatural, I guess, because it's a soul of this movie tells me. So fine, that's the premise. I'll roll with it. I can suspend my disbelief. You still got to explain the infinite scissors unless you're going to tell me the supernatural did it. In any case, though, like I said, it's not a deal breaker. I can let it go because, again, you can cut out just a few minutes of exposition and fix it. And the majority of the movie works, but comparing it to Get Out's got to be the better movie for me because I don't have a critical flaw like that anywhere in Get Out. With this movie, it's like you made one mistake, and it's a pretty big one for me.
Okay, I see where you're coming from. I think I heard you and my wife talking about it on the way out, where you said Get Out is going to potentially have more longevity just because there's stuff that isn't questioned. So I kind of thought that you were going to go that route.
To elaborate on that a little more, why I think Get Out is a little more rewatchable.
Yeah.
Because when, I could be wrong because I haven't given this movie a rewatch, but I feel like when you rewatch it, most of what you catch again is just going to be like, here's another place where you didn't notice an 11 before, or here's another spot where you didn't notice two items that are kind of similar but different sitting next to each other. But
or the ambulance or
but like I feel like when you rewatch Get Out, it can contribute more to the commentary that's there. The commentary feels a bit more effective in Get Out. I mean, it works here, but it's more of the focus in Get Out, and I think your rewatches contribute to that. And I think I don't know. I don't know if I have anything more to add to that, just because I could be wrong once I watch it again, and I am going to watch it again.
Oh yeah.
But I don't feel like I'm going to watch it a million times like I did Get Out.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of came into this review a little unprepared for what the internet had to say about it, and
I haven't looked at all.
Yeah, so I mean, there could be major things that we didn't notice our first time through because we were dodging cell phone light and country music playing on Spotify. So I mean, maybe watching it a second time, like seeing the experience in the theater, definitely will give us a little more impact with certain sounds or certain visuals. But I think watching it at home, especially for our area, is kind of the better bet sometimes. Yes, I'm still ranting about the fucking theater.
It's not normally that bad. It's just a bad day.
The last 3 times I've gone, it has been nothing but like people applauding at wrong moments in the movie, seeing cell phone flashlights or screens at full brightness. I don't even care if you text during the movie. Just turn your fucking brightness down on your phone. Yeah,
at least be that self-aware, guys. At least turn your brightness down.
Oh my God, it kills me every time.
Oh, jeez. Anyway.
But anyways,
ultimately, I did love the movie. I think it's just a step short of being a masterpiece because of one critical error, but Jordan Peele is pretty firmly established as a master here. I think he's at this point probably one of the only directors who you can sell on his name now.
Yeah.
You know, you see movies that are advertised as, from the creators of this movie. But as for movies that put a director's name front and center, you're going to have like Christopher Nolan and Jordan Peele and Tarantino and like 2 or 3 other people who are slipping my mind right now.
If you regretfully sigh at me saying Michael Bay. You know, the guy that makes exploding movies.
Do they put his name front and center in the marketing?
Probably.
I mean, he has a weird
Transformers.
He has a weird thing going on where all his movies make bank, but nobody actually likes them.
Right. I think he just kind of cashed in on a good franchise. A franchise that makes money, not a good one. Anyway, Transformers was good in the 70s. I think it was the 70s when it started.
Oh, okay. I thought you were daring to call his version of the franchise a good franchise.
No, not his version. The franchise is good.
Wow. Okay. Well, we'll get more on that when we start spotlighting all of Michael Bay's movies.
Before that, we're going to do Transformers because, God, I need to feel good before I feel miserable.
All right. Thanks for listening, guys. See you next time.
Until next time.